Hey folks, welcome back to the Portable Gamer, welcome back to Farming Simulator 19, and welcome back to Ravenport Farm, and this is our career mode. So, I'm trying to think where we left off last episode. You know, I don't know if you do this, but I have several farms going at the same time, and they're all sort of different. Like, one of them is kind of, I don't want to say a serious farm, but, well, one of them is the YouTube farm. One of them is my own personal farm, is that a good way to say it? Felsbrunn. And the other is just kind of a place to test mods. So we did get this. I want to say this is about 60,000 liters of grass chaff that we got in here. We got it clamped. That is cooking. We got a blade over here, so that wasn't too expensive, and we are going to use that a lot. And this will be done when? 2% done. It'll be done in a while. It'll be done in a while. So I did not get fert on this field yet. Now it still has fertilizer, from the last time we fertilized it. And I want to say, and we're talking about field 20 and 21 down here, I want to say that grass is a different kind of crop, because normally when you harvest a crop, it goes down to 0 fertilizer. But this seems to hold, like it only knocks it down 1 level. And I'm curious what it's going to do with lime and plowing. I want to say that grass is a different crop, and it's not going to need plowed, and it's not going to need lime, but it will still need fertilizer, and it will still need weeding, herbicide. And I also want to say that it'll stay that way until we put another crop in there. But I believe that grass and oilseed radish, because they're cover crops, they behave a little bit differently. I want to say that. I don't know if I should, but I want to say that. What else is going on? I don't know if you can see it. We are running EVGA Precision XOC. We are overclocking at 250 on the core and 800 on the memory clock, and we're having 0 heat issues. I was running about 65 Celsius before I overclocked, and I'm running 67 Celsius now. The reason we're doing that is, as weird as it is to say it, because it's not like some super eye candy AAA game, but Farming Simulator, I just got so frustrated not being able to hold 60 FPS that I went ahead and, I mean, it is on the one hand kind of a mild overclock, but with it being a 1050 card, I don't really think it could handle a radical overclock, and it's in a laptop, and I don't want to burn my laptop up. But NVIDIA gives me 90 degrees Celsius for a max temp on the 1050, and we're at 68, so we've got plenty of room to go there. And in fact, there's really been, I mean, it's 1 degree, there's been no appreciable bump up in temperature overclocking anyway, which leads me to believe, and I discussed this at length in an ATS video, leads me to believe that that card is throttled pretty hard because it is in a laptop, and both the liability, exploding laptop, and the warranty issue. You know, if you burn your laptop up, they will very often just take care of it, no questions asked, because that's how business is these days. But I feel like that 1050 is really throttled down in my laptop, and with a good i7 7700 chipset, I feel like I could get a lot more out of it, and apparently I can. I mean, if I go any higher than 250 and 800, I get unstable. You know, I get the gray screen. It just won't run at all. So that's the max overclock that I can put into it, and it has 0 effect on temp. Well, 1 degree. Very little effect on temp, so I do feel like that card is throttled from the factory, and I'm just kind of bringing it up. But when I ran some benchmarks, and it is bottlenecking my CPU pretty hard. But you know what? That's just how it goes. That's just how it goes. I love my little laptop, and yeah, it works for me. It works for me. It is what it is, but it works for me. So we're going to pull up right down here. We're going to get the combine harvester going on these soybeans, and then we're going to do a couple things that we haven't done before. You know, I've been really, I guess, studying YouTube, really kind of paying attention what works and what doesn't. Let me get this. Yeah, let me lift that up. We were scraping it. What works and what doesn't, and continuing to evolve what I want the channel to be, where I want it to go. And something that I've realized is, if you have a big enough audience, or if you have a compelling enough presentation, yeah, man, people will just watch you game. It fascinates me because I see gamers that, I don't want to say they're like, you know, but they're kind of, you know, and they have, 500 or 1,000 people watching their live stream, and okay, and you can't argue with success, and whatever it is that they're doing, it is working. But at the same time, I watch it and I think that's just, you're just playing a game. But then here's me, and I think, I want people to come around and watch me just play a game. I guess I'm beginning to understand that you've got to give people something to watch. And for some people, perhaps that is just straight up gameplay. But I feel like people want to see things, show me something, teach me something, give me, right? So we're going to do a couple things different in the video today that we have not done before in 2019. One thing we're going to do is make a milk run and get some milk delivered, because I believe we have enough. Oh, see, I didn't put those blades down far enough. I dropped the front loader proper, but I didn't drop the blades. So put these up here, kind of a transport position so we don't spear anybody. And let's get back to the farm. So our milk is at, well, the capacity of our milk wagon is 8,000 liters, and I want to say we have more than that. I don't know. We got some. We got enough. So we're going to take that up and sell it. And we may not get the best price for it, but at this point, can we really be that picky? Let's just get it sold. So we're going to get that sold, and then we're going to go to the store. We're going to rent a slurry spreader because we have some slurry from our cows now. So we're going to rent a slurry spreader and hit that one time. Now, I can tell you, if you haven't seen this already, that the poo textures are a lot better in this game than they have been in the past. And that, what the elephant in the room. I think everybody who's into farm sim knows what's going on with cattle and crops and farm simulator and that sort of, Cold War they have brewing. That's cool. I think it's good for the genre, which really there aren't a lot of farm simulators, and there was last year there was Pure Farming and Farming Dynasty, and both of them, I have to say, were almost like strategy games more than simulations. They were cool, but to me they were more on the arcade side, more on the casual gamer side, and a sort of a different model, more about the strategic, I guess. I don't know how else to say it, but it almost reminded me of like an RTS or a tile game. All right, so let's get this hooked up just like so, and then if we do this, 7,000. Okay, you know what? That's close enough to 8, and I think we had a couple hundred liters in here that I had tested just to make sure it filled okay. So this ought to take us up, 7,000 out of 8,000. Hey, what can you do? What can you do? Where are they buying this stuff, man? Where are they buying milk? Where's a good price? 507 at the Central Grain Elevator. And where is that? Central Grain Elevator. It's going to be a couple ways to get there. Let's just stay on the roads because it's right up next to this long track next to Field 8. Yeah, let's just stay on the roads. Okay. We'll go in cab since we're making a delivery. That just seems to fit, does it not? Driving on the roads. So yeah, there's really not a lot of, there's not a lot of people in the space, as they say. And it seems like most of the people in the space are confined to two organizations. And then further, one of the organizations formed as an offshoot of an informal group affiliated with the first organization. Yeah, I think that made sense. And to the best of my knowledge, the Cattle and Crops crew are a bunch of current and former farm simulator modders that said they could do it themselves. We'll do it ourselves, and good luck to them. So when I see that there's a point to all this, there always is. Man, we got time to talk. We're just farming, We got time to talk. So I feel like the direction that Cattle and Crops has gone in, I hope has caught the attention of Giants and the Farm Simulator crew, the folks that are developing that internally or continuing to evolve it internally. But, you know, on the one hand, you hear them say, ooh, timing. On the one hand, you hear them say, you know, we have no intention of making this sim more realistic. We're content for it to be just kind of a casual gaming experience. Okay, that's cool. And then on the other hand, you see some things added to it and you think that's, you know, that looks like you are moving toward realism. So I don't know. But the poo textures, I feel like, and you'll see them. If you haven't seen them yet, you'll see them. But I feel like they are sort of in line. You know, there's a little bit of gloss on the fields. You can see some puddling on the fields. It really does remind me of cattle and crops. And I think with the new graphics and texture model that Farming Simulator is working with, the albedo textures and some of the different things they're doing with post-processing, I feel like that shimmer, you know, as you pivot the camera around and the sun hits it from different angles, you get that puddling shimmer. I know we're talking about poo, but we're talking about farming, yo. We're talking about farming simulation, so it's cool. Some of those different lighting effects that you get, and you know, I think for a lot of us, the way that we see farms is we see them next to roads as we're driving. And you know, thinking about growing up in Pennsylvania and seeing people working on farms, you know, in rural areas, and just some of those looks that farm fields have when they are in different stages of preparation and different stages of cultivation, you know, being able to capture that. And something as subtle as, you know, the way the light hits on a field that has been sprayed or planted or cultivated or whatever, or the way that the dust and debris sort of billows out the back of a combine harvester. All those very subtle effects, to me, when you put it all together, it contributes to the immersion, and it's like you can't really leave anything out. But at the same time, you get to this weird place where it's like, well, how detailed, how finite do we want to be? And you know, my answer would be as finite as you can be, as detailed as you can be, but who knows? Who knows? Now this, speaking of immersion, this, I have to say, kind of bugs me, because we're going to sell milk now over a tip grate. And, you know, it seems like they could have just put a little spigot, you know, a little hydrant of some kind in to make, to make this. I'm so used to gearbox and kind of reefing on the brake to get it to go to neutral that I forget sometimes we're no longer in gearbox. So when I hold the brake, particularly after we've stopped, it's going to go ahead and throw her in reverse. Right, so we'll head back to the farm. Now we do have 2 tractors, so we can grab a tipper, but I don't know if what are we harvesting? Soybeans. I don't know if the soybeans that we're harvesting are really going to fill up that combine harvester. It's pretty small, but so is that field. So we may get a warning that it's at 80%. We may get a warning that it is full. And if we do, you know, I don't know. It'll be okay down there by itself. But I'm curious. We got on time, 13 minutes. I'm curious. I mean, if we get 10,000, 12,000 liters, prices are pretty good. So maybe we'll get 12 or 15,000 euro for what we get out of that field. And we're just going to need to chip away at it. A part of me is kind of done with the contract jobs. It feels like cheating. It really does. I mean, you can make so much money so fast that it sort of feels like cheating, but in a tedious way. I talked about this last episode. Like, which is it? Is it a very challenging difficulty level, or is it a sandbox level where you can just make as much money as you want? And is the way that you make that money, is it based on like skill and dedication, or is it just your willingness and your ability to grind? Because I really feel like I was gold farming and just boring grinding, just doing fertilizer missions over and over. So I think maybe I'm done with that, and from here on out, all of our profitability and all of our growth maybe should be confined to what we do on our farm, right? We've got no loan at the moment. I kind of like to keep it that way. So we have all our buildings. We have enough equipment, certainly enough equipment to work at this point. And the next field I think we buy will either be 18, which is right across the highway from the meadow that we're sort of based in, or field 19, which is the other side of that valley where the farm proper is going to be. But either way, you know what I mean? It's going to cost us 180 grand, and it's going to add very little acreage to our operation. So we're going to need to continue to be careful. Now, that leads to another question. Now, I don't know how you feel about this. You know, like I was saying when we first jumped in here, people want to see things, right? Now, if you're a big time famous YouTuber, people just want to see you. They don't really care what you're doing. But for me, I'm kind of growing, kind of in that, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like, the biggest videos that I've had as far as views and how long people have spent watching them have been new things, a DLC that just dropped, or something. So I feel like today, we made a milk run. We've never done that before. We are going to spray poo. We've never done that before. So I feel like the videos that resonate the most strongly with my audience are videos where we're doing something rather than me just being myself doing the same thing I've done 1,000 times. So I don't know how you feel about me skipping ahead off camera so that we can do new things that we've not done before. And I think FS19's been out for a couple weeks. I feel like it's in that kind of in-between stage where if you're interested in it, or if you bought it already, you know all you need to know about it. And if you're hearing about it for the first time, what does that do? Like, where do you want to jump in as far as, get a little room here, get that tongue out of the way. Oh, hang on, there we go. So, you see what I mean? I don't know how you feel about me skipping ahead and then you tune back in, and last episode we were doing this, and now all of a sudden we're over here. Well, how'd that happen? You skipped the part. I don't know if you really care either way about me skipping parts to get ahead to something more interesting that you maybe have not seen before. Don't know. So, what else can I tell you? In my other map, in my Felsbrunn map, I did buy the BGA, and there's something interesting. The BGA is handled a little bit differently in FS19. Obviously, the first thing is you have to buy it. It's kind of a big deal. Now, it pays for itself relatively quickly because silage is still like keys to the kingdom. In this sim, you make so much money so fast, but you have to spend a ton to be able to make that money. So that is part of it. I can tell you that when you, pardon me, I turned my head away to clear my throat and almost wadded her up. So I can tell you that let's try to hook this up in cab. I don't do enough of that. Where is my harvester harvesting? Did we get a message that he stopped? I don't see him. Oh, there he is. There's a little fella. So you buy the BGA, and when you drop silage off, well, you drop chaff off. You fill the bunkers with chaff. You clamp them. They turn into silage. And then when you dump it in the hopper to make it into digestate, you do not get paid instantly. Ah, interesting. You don't get paid instantly, and your digestate does not appear instantly. Both of them appear at midnight. Doesn't tell you how much digestate you have. Oh, this is perfect timing. He's just about to make a turn. Just about to start a row. This is fantastic. So at midnight, it does tell you how much money you got, but it does not tell you how much digestate you got. And there's no trigger box at the facility. So it used to be that you could walk up next to either Slurry at the farm or the digestate tank at the BGA, and it would pop up a little message telling you how much of either you have. It no longer does that. And even when you pull up to either one of them, but specifically to the digestate tank at the BGA, even when you pull up to it in a tanker that can accept digestate, it doesn't pop anything up. You click a button and it asks you if you want to fill it. I certainly do. And only then does it tell you what the volume of the tank is. I think it would be nice to be able to see it because you can see the volume of everything else. A moment, please. I'll show you after we make our turn here. So let me get turned around. I think we're going to get about 7,500 liters out of this field, if I had to guess. Right. So let me show you. If you go to your commodities, up on top it does show you this is the volume of silos that we own, right? 100 grand. So if you go down here to the BGA, well, there is no BGA, but I would think that, now this is manure, this is slurry. It doesn't show either one of them as a capacity. And I don't know if there's any place to store these, right? So now if we go to our animals, it does tell you like what we have at those facilities, but it doesn't tell you how much slurry you have stored other than at the cow pasture. And it doesn't tell you how much digestate you have at the BGA. So, I mean, I guess you could just remember, you know, if you go to pick up, if you have a tank that holds 25,000 liters and you go to pick up and you have 100,000 liters, you can just sort of thumbnail in your head that you have 75,000 liters left. But it seems like it would be a simple enough thing to code so that you could see, you know, what volume you have. So, I don't know, ticky-tack stuff. Like I said, there's some things that I feel they really did well. And then there are some other things. It's like, what were you thinking? How could you not take care of that? That's ridiculous. So it is what it is. It is, you know, it's Holiday Cash Grab Simulator 19, but it's ours, you know, we're stuck with it. So let us head down to the store. We're at 22 minutes. This will be perfect. Let us head down to the store. Depending on the price, I will either lease or buy the smallest slurry tanker. We'll get that going. You know, something else that I really... The game is whatever you want it to be. You play it however you want. There's no rules for this. And everybody does play it differently, and that is very cool. On Felsbrunn, the fields are pretty big, and I have some of them plowed together, but I'm still using maximum 6-meter equipment, except for the header on my combine harvester, which is, I'm running John Deere equipment, and there's really only one header you can get for the big combine harvester, and that's the one I'm running. But other than that, I'm running 6-meter equipment, and in some cases I'm running 4-meter equipment. Like my subsoiler is 4-meter. And there's a reason for that. You know, when I watch real farming videos, and I subscribe to a lot of real farming channels, you see people in fairly big fields, like 6 and 8 and 10 hectare fields, with something like a 4-meter subsoiler. And they may work on that field part of, or most of, or all of a day, or multiple days, right? If you have 10 fields, you know, I know spring is spring, but it's, you know, 23,000. I don't want to borrow any money. Let's lease for now. And let's lease in the New Holland. Yeah, let's lease in the New Holland Blue. And we're going to jack this thing up just so we can see. It's $2,000 at least. Yeah, that's perfect. So we can get a look at how this thing looks and how it performs. Yeah, kind of a basic unit. That works for me. So when you see real videos, or when I see real videos of people really farming, their equipment is, by farm simulator standards, absurdly small, right? Like, how could you possibly be working in a field that big with equipment that small? And some of the drone camera, what's his name, Stuart Dubois, some of the drone camera videos of people working in fields, they just look like, you know what I mean? They look like a little sailboat out on a mighty ocean. It's just this tiny little tractor and implement in this gigantic field. But you think of them moving consistently at 7 or 8 miles per hour, and yeah, they would finish that field in a morning or perhaps a full day. And that's just about right, because if they have 10 fields, that's 10 days. And what I was saying before, like, I know spring is spring. You got to get shit done. I get that. But spring is not that short. And you can start working on your fields as soon as the ground thaws. Now, when you plant is a different story. You need to plant at very specific times. But you see what I'm saying, right? You would not necessarily work a field like that with the big bud. But I feel like, you know, as we pretend farm in this sim, if that's what you're into, if you want to use the big bud for everything, if you want to use 15 and 20 meter equipment for everything, have at it, man. Enjoy yourself. But for me personally, on Felsbrunn, which has some pretty big fields, at the moment I am using, like I said, 6 meter equipment, and I'm really enjoying it. So the point of all that is this slurry sprayer, I think, may be just about the right size for our farm for quite some time. And the temptation is to use a much bigger one because it's more fun. You know what? I'm going to do something. I'm going to cut in a little headland around our wool, because I'm guessing that's going to detract from the value of the wool if we take it to market and it's got poo all over it. That's no good for anybody. So let's slow down our cruise control. Let's put that there. Cruise control is on, and let's start spraying and see how this looks. You can't really see it there because it's under the grass, but there is a new texture on the field, and I'm glad they did it. Now, I want to say in 17, it's all sort of running together for me, but I want to say in 17, there was actually no poo texture. It just made the field dark as though you had fertilized it. Yeah, and you get a little glimpse of the shine right there. So I guess this is not just an improvement, but kind of a big improvement. So I'm going to go back one more time, and then we'll start doing lengths. And the other thing I feel like they've done is made the speed and volume of the delivery more accurate. It was an endless source of frustration for me that in FS19 and I think a little bit in 17, although they nerfed it a bit, that you could put 40,000 liters of hard manure in a spreader and take it out on a medium-sized field, and you could make like one length before it was empty. So this is, now I'm using the Samson boom sprayer in Felsbrunn, and it seems to be much more efficient at delivery than this does. We're going through this pretty fast. We just did a couple kind of oh yeah, there's the texture. Nice little shine to it. It's got that wet look, right? That is vastly improved. So kudos for that. What the hell was I saying? Oh, the Samson sprayer. The Samson sprayer is it's a boom sprayer with the little dripper tips, and I feel like it is trying to accurately represent the fact that you would have a more efficient and less wasteful delivery of slurry with that rig than you would perhaps with this one, because this is, it's not as bad as FS15 where we would have made it 100 feet with that volume, but we're really not seeing, I don't think, a good efficient use of slurry with this sprayer, and that's fine. That's fine. Living and learning, we're getting to know this sim, getting to know it. But we didn't get a whole lot of fertilizing done in this field. That's all right. That's all right. Maybe we'll make it to the end. Yeah, maybe we'll make it to the end of an actual length and not have our field all jibber jabbered. Oh, perfect. Perfect. We just barely made it. Fantastic. I'm going to drop this and go down and see how our combine harvester did. I don't think it's done. I think it finished the long lengths for the upper part of the field, and we still need to kind of manually do the lower part, which is field 24, I think 24, 25, and 26. We cut them all together. I think the lower part behind the sheds represents the old field 24, and I feel like the AI just kind of not gives up, but you know what I mean. AI has a problem with, well, it's got a problem with a lot of stuff. It's got a problem with any field that isn't big and square. And there's some trees around this and some sheds and various other things. So I feel like we're going to find our guy with a little work left to do, but that's okay. I will probably finish that off camera because we're at, oh man, we're at 30 minutes. You want to just knock that field out and take those soybeans up and sell them? Let's see how he did. Let's see how he did, and we'll see how we're doing on time. I know I've done some hour-long videos lately, and I know that's a big ask, you know, depending on how busy you are. You get all of it? Nah, of course not. That's a big ask, depending on how busy you are, and you know what? That's perfect timing. We'll talk about that as we hop in our little guy here. Oh, you know what? He almost made it. Almost made it. All right. It's an interesting place to stop. All right, sir. So let's hop in here. We got plenty of room. We are going to crush a little crop getting out of here. So let's get out of here. Clean up this little bit right here, and then we'll finish off that other part. And yeah, it should take us just about to the right time. So that leads into the other thing. I really do want to thank everybody who's stopping by to check out the videos. I know YouTube is an incredibly crowded platform. There are literally millions and millions of channels. Oh, breaking. There are millions and millions of channels, and you know, that somebody would take the time to come and check out mine. It's really kind of flattering and humbling, and it's just really awesome to think about, you know, that I have regulars. I know right after I post a video, within an hour or so, there are always 3 or 4 views and a couple of likes. I don't think those are bots or spiders. I think those are actual people that actually look forward to my content, and like I said, that is just, it is absolutely humbling, and I appreciate every one of you. I'm trying to do the best possible videos that I can, and yeah, man, it's a cool thing we got going on here. So thank you very much for stopping by to check out the channel. Thanks for the views, thanks for your loyalty, and yeah, really appreciate you. Now we've got a little tricky bit. I don't want to do this because we can't head straight down because of the placement of that shed. Let's do this. Where did I park that guy? Yeah, plenty of room there. Okay, let's do this. Let's back up. Let's back this up. Something else positive that I can tell you. This is as good a time as any to tell you. I do notice a difference in the physics. You know, I was really down in the game the first week or so, and I feel like all I was finding was flaws. But the physics have been improved now. The absence of a gearbox, I think, is just unforgivable, particularly when there is a gearbox mod. And I understand that somebody owns that gearbox mod, and Giants can't just take it from them. And I understand that the developer of the gearbox mod is one of those cattle and crops personalities. And again, there may be some bad blood, so who knows? Maybe Giants made an offer. You know, we'll pay you a licensing fee to use that code, and they said no. I have no idea. I'm only speculating. However, it seems like a simple enough thing to do. And I'm very disappointed that basically every vehicle in the game has a continuous velocity transmission. That seems kind of, you know what I mean? It's really an immersion buster for me, but what can you do? However, the physics do seem to have been improved, and the tractors do seem to respond a little bit more realistically, particularly when they're loaded. When they're unloaded, they still drive like a two-door Honda, but when they're loaded, they seem to really kind of struggle a bit more on hills. They seem to, you can feel the weight if you've got a big tipper on a medium-sized tractor, and I am trying to run appropriate and accurate sized equipment on Felsbrum. I feel like you can really notice the difference when you've got, you know, 50,000 liters of canola in a tipper and you're trying to haul it up a hill and you hit traffic and have to slow down. You may finish that hill at 7 or 8 miles per hour. So that's different than FS19, where it was, you know, whatever the maximum speed of the vehicle was, that's the speed that you were going. If you gave yourself enough time to get ahead of steam, you could drive up a hill at 40 miles per hour with a loaded tipper and just really not you know, not realistic at all. So that is a good thing. I'm glad they did that. And I don't know if my EVGA data panel is recording. I've got several information panels superimposed over the game. Some of them record, some of them do not. The ones that record, I typically turn them off. But I don't know if you can see that, but we have bumped up to 71 Celsius, which is, we've still got, you know, 20, almost 20 degrees of headroom, and we're not climbing. But we are running, I guess, you know, now that we're into it for 35 minutes with shadow play running as well, I guess we have seen about maybe 2 to 3 degrees above normal. So that's okay. That's okay. I'm not terribly worried about that. We've got plenty of room. Now, if we went north of, I think, about 75 degrees, that's when I would begin to become concerned. But the system has a really aggressive heat pipe cooling system, you know, closed loop methanol, the whole deal. That blows my mind, right? Like, I mean, I love America, but I'm definitely not, you know, xenophobic, and I have tremendous respect for all people and all cultures, and I feel very fortunate to have been born in America, but I understand that everybody feels very fortunate to have been born wherever they were born. You know what I mean? Everybody loves their home as much as I love mine, so I'm not a flag waver like that. However, I will tell you that when I think about things that we have access to in, not just in the United States, but in wealthy Western democracies, you know, I've got a laptop that has a closed loop methanol cooling system, so I can run a graphics card built for gaming. And I think, man, there's people in other parts of the world that are just looking for food, you know. So it really, like, this stuff is such a part of our lives, we take it for granted, but it's one of those things that when you say it out loud, when you say it slowly, it's like, are you kidding me? It's like NASA stuff. Closed loop methanol cooling system. Okay, but the reason I mention it, the point is that it is a really almost like an OP cooling system. I feel like it's designed for much more powerful cards than my 1050. So my 1050, even on the OC, is still not taxing that cooling system, and we got plenty of room to work with. So happy about that. I know this is not, there's a lot of deadheading going on to finish up this field, but I just am not a fan of the 3-point turn in tight spaces, and we're almost done anyway. So where are we at? 37 minutes. And what did we have in that cart? We had about 6,000. No, less than that. We had about 5,000 liters. So yeah, I was estimating 7,500. I think it's going to be more like 10. But we'll take a peek here and see what this stuff is going for, and maybe we'll make 10 grand today. I don't know if I'm going to take it all the way up to the market, because that's going to be kind of a long drive, and I don't want the video to go full 60 minutes. I'm trying to cap it at 45. So maybe we'll just finish this field and then see where we are. We can estimate what we'll get paid, and then you'll see that next episode. So yeah, man, pleased with the frame rate with the OC. We're not at 60, but we're definitely higher and more solid than we were before. I ran the what is it, the Unigine, the Heaven benchmark, and I picked up, I was at like 43 before the OC and about 47 after, so solid 10% bump. And you know, there's nothing wrong with 10%. I'll take it. And you know, something else that kind of blew me away is well, two things. Realizing that my 1050 had been, I think, throttled pretty aggressively by Hewlett-Packard on the build. And then the other thing was, you know, it gets, as a card, it gets pretty mediocre reviews, and a lot of people smack talking and say it's an economy card. You know, it's a yeah, okay. Well, you know, you hurt my feelings a little bit. Every baby's beautiful, and this is my baby. So that's part of it, but also I feel like you know, benchmarking is done in context. You know, at the top you have like a 1080 Ti hybrid, and then at the bottom you have, you know, at least in the 10 series, you have my Wii 1050, and then my 1050 to boot is a laptop 1050. So so it, you know, it ranks consistently kind of down near the bottom, and because it's a relative ranking, well, as all rankings are relative, I guess they have to be, but you know what I mean. It's a relative ranking. You're like, okay, that's me down at the bottom. Hey, wave for me, and then I do a benchmark, and I think this is not bad, you know, and I, you know, I say this all the time. If you've got some big, you know, 2-card SLI liquid cooled system, and you hopped on my system, you'd want to throw yourself out a window, but it meets my needs. It totally meets my needs. It's no longer going to, and I think FS19 is the first time that happened where, you know, I can typically run all my titles on high, everything on high, a couple things on ultra, and hold 60 or close, and, you know, no problems. And I feel like, particularly after we cross over the first of the year, I feel like every new release after January 1st, 2019 is going to be hit or miss as to whether I can even have high settings. I feel like I'm headed toward high and medium for future games. So I knew that, and it is a perfect excuse to get a new card. But in the meantime, you know, the setup that I have right now with the OC for, specifically for Farm Sim, I don't even think I even really need to overclock on anything else, and I'll certainly turn it off and try to squeeze a little extra life out of my card without cooking it. But for this sim only, oh, there goes my voice again, pardon me. For this sim only, I will run the OC, and at the same time, even though it's only one sim that is requiring the OC, that is as good an excuse as any to hop on that new system. First of the year. Actually, there's going to be a lot of things new on the first of the year, and, you know, I don't do teasers and I don't do clickbait, but if you made it this far in the video, I will tell you that come the first of the year, a lot of things are going to be different. I'm redoing my title graphics, my intro title graphics. I'm definitely redoing my end card. I have to, because it's obsolete now. It says like F1 2017 on Sunday. Well, not only am I not doing any F1 sim on Sunday because I don't have my wheel hooked up, but I'm certainly not doing F1 2017 because I bumped up to F1 2018 naturally. So little stuff like that. I need to tune all that up. Microphone is good. I'm using Cakewalk to capture my audio on a second laptop. That doesn't need any changes. I'm happy with Cakewalk. I'm happy with my Blue Yeti, so that's good. But yeah, internally, things in like the channel itself, you know, like those title cards and graphics, that needs to be tuned up. And then hardware-wise, that needs a little bit of work. But I'm debating whether or not I want to take a week off. You know, I'm coming up on, this is, what you're watching right now, I believe, represents my 398th video. So I'd like to do something for 400 videos, and man, it would be great. Nope, you know what? I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say it. There are certain things that I stay away from, and I'll mention it in that 400th video anniversary episode, whatever you want to call it. There's certain things I absolutely stay away from on the channel, just philosophically, and I almost did one of them right there. But to celebrate 400 videos, and also to sort of talk about what I've learned, you know, in 400 videos, I do want to do something special for that, you know, for the 400. And one of the things that I want to mention is, it doesn't matter how many subs you have, it doesn't matter how many views you have, you can burn out on this stuff. So I'm debating taking a week off, last week of December, to retool the channel, to get some things tuned up, to get some things put in place, but also, honestly, because you can burn out on this stuff. And I think maybe I just want to take a week and maybe not game at all, or if I do game, just game for myself. Now, I do game off camera, but the channel, I found, for me anyway, really sort of defines how I game now, as far as, you know, I can't just do whatever I want. if I'm doing a series of some kind, if I'm, I can't necessarily just do whatever I want. I realize I have a very small audience and I really could do whatever I wanted. Nobody would notice or care. But I want to get in good habits. I want to get in good work habits, and I want to build the channel properly, and that means not, just doing whatever I want and saying, well, it's okay, nobody watches anyway. So, you see what I'm saying? You know what I mean. You always know what I mean. So this is perfect. We're at 45 minutes exactly. I'm going to empty this out. We'll take a look at the total volume of soybeans that we got, and then we'll go check the price. Now, we can store these. That's the reason we bought that, like, 90,000 euro silo. The reason we bought that is so we can store crops and sell them at a better price. And now here it is, our first harvest with the silo, and we just run right up and sell this. Let's do this. If it's over 1,000, and we'll look while it's unloading. If it's over 1,000, we'll sell. If it's not, we will wait. How's that? So we go here, then we go back over here, and soybeans are 966 at the central grain elevator. That's not high enough. We'll wait, and we'll sell at 1,000. So take this over and tip it, and we'll call it. So, yeah, man, I'm enjoying this farm, and I am enjoying the sim. I have to say, I'm always going to smack talk it, but you know what? I was smack talking 17 right before we switched over, and one of the things that I said repeatedly was, man, I cannot wait to get to FS19 and get away from all these mods that I have stacked up that are causing me so many problems, and just start with a clean game and no mods and, yada yada. And now here it is, 2 weeks in, and all I'm doing is smack talking this game. But I'm not. I do enjoy it. I really do love Farm Sim. And it's happening exactly the way that I thought it would. I'm not running any mods other than like static mods, like tractors and that sort of thing. But I've got no scripting in. I've got no course play. I've got no none of that stuff. No seasons. Everything makes the game stable. Is that how we feel about that for I wish the sun was on the other side now. Let's go over here. Let's go over here. Yeah. There you go. There's your thumbnail. Folks, thanks for stopping back to check out the Portable Gamer. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Farming Simulator 19 from Ravenport Farm. And we'll see you next time. Take care now.